Well, wasn't this a fun surprise? Yeah, this was a bit of a chaotic mess to put together. Kind of want to go through this really quick so you don't have to deal with all the traffic potential noise in the background, you know? Because, ooh, Janota squared. Ooh, yeah. Just a little, like, bonus content. I just want to, like, talk about this because this video took a lot longer than I thought it would take to make because you could say, based on like my stats, I think it took me about 2.5 weeks from the previous upload, which was like the invisible Pikmin, which actually, now I think about it, I was working on this at the time, so this was probably going on for about a solid month. But what I could say is that it took me 4 years, technically 5. So the whole story behind this, in 2020, after the 3D All-Stars trailer, I came up with the idea to do this, where I'm like, oh, I'll make a fake trailer for a Mario and Luigi collection. Because if there's one thing I'm good at is doing what Nintendo doesn't, maybe. I don't know. But at the time in 2020, I was just learning Adobe Animate. I didn't make my first true animation until March or February, whenever I made Steve. So then in 2021, I'm like, okay, I got some experience. Let's do this. So let's head over to Adobe Animate. So I started with this clip here. It's actually, you can tell it's different than anything else because I labeled my layers. Woo. Unfortunately, I used to criticize people for not labeling their layers, and then I fell into that habit myself. So here you can tell it was older because I actually labeled them. So up until about, let's go right here. Here, yeah, this is right about it. This is where I left off in 2021. And then we cut to 4 years later. I finally pick up from here, finish the scene, do 10 more, and then lo and behold, now we're in the great 2025 with me finally, you know, going in to finish it. So, this was it's a lot of shots for one. Obviously, Superstar Saga only had like 10 shots, and then I split them into 3 projects. Partners in Time looks like I had 20. I don't know why 18's up here. And then Bowser's Inside Story at 21. Actually, I had 20. I cut because one thing I did to keep it in line. So, like I said, 3D All Stars trailer, and I mean that literally because if we go to here, this first edit I have, if we disable my animations, the 3D All Stars trailer is underneath it. Let's put this down. So what I did was, first of all, I recorded other gameplays. So that's one thing I did. I got gameplay from other YouTubers to base the animations off because I think it's easier to just turn these widescreen rather than freehand it. It probably looked the best, looked the cleanest. I'll get into what I had to do for these after, but like what I did was I just recorded the gameplay moments. I recorded like 20-ish moments for each game, 10 for the first one. I chose moments based on for Superstar Saga, I wanted these 2 shots exactly, and I'm glad I got those. These other ones I didn't really care. I actually thought it'd be funny to end with the Luigi shot, so I did that. Then Partners in Time. The issue with picking scenes for this was that not everything for both DS games have been like fully sprited, where there's like no full sprite sheets of like the models, mostly the backgrounds. The backgrounds really make the main thing. So most of the scenes here is stuff that scared me as a kid. I was scared of this. Let's see what else. This because of the whole game over thing. I even showed the shot of them getting game over. I didn't even realize I showed both. This scared me, like devastated. This is like when Peach turns around, or Princess Shroob freaked me out when I was a kid. The whole Yube thing. Where is it? This shot. That scared me. That terrified me as a kid. I was scared of looking outside windows. This is real. I'm being genuine right now with this. So I try to pick as many moments. I tried to pick 2 moments from Star Hill, but unfortunately those backgrounds weren't modeled yet. It was the moment where the Elder Shrew Boy, the red one, pops out, breaks through, and strikes lightning. That scared me for some reason. But then I wanted to do the Star Hill gates because it made fun of Luigi. I thought that was funny. But I ended it with the baby Luigi cookie clip, which I'm kind of glad I went with. And then for Bowser's Inside Story, nothing really scared me from this game. I just had to pick moments that complied with, like I said, this game actually in particular has like very little backgrounds ripped. So I had to be very like precise with my picks. So I'm glad with what I ended up doing. So like I said, I timed them and then I individually exported them so I can go to Adobe Animate and then I just import them, put them side by side. I even made this little like frame. So this is the DS screen, and I put it in here so I can like frame the animation so the camera matches whatever the original video did. Funny Bowser. A lot of this stuff, because I'm basing it off the animation, I had to be frame by frame, so I'm just going one frame at a time, and then I've watched the video closely. If it changes, I change the whatever sprite's supposed to be. So that's kind of how the basis of that went. And then that was kind of the gist of it. One main thing was like, and people have mentioned this in the comments, I'm glad I waited until the video to die down to make this, but is like, why is it only these three? So, fun fact, in 2021, when I wanted to make this, like, actually, I made a poll on Reddit where I asked, like, hey, if they did a Mario & Luigi Superstar Collection, which is what I called it even back then, what would it be in it? And I was like, here are the options. Just these 3 games, just the 5 games, including Dream Team and Paper Jam, or the 5 games, plus the 2 remakes, and even a brand new remake of Partners in Time. I was so ambitious back then. I drew a baby Mario sprite in like the 3DS style, and that took me so long. I'm so glad I didn't go through with that. And honestly, based on Nintendo nowadays, I feel like this is the most likely option. I'm not gonna lie, just the three games before the 3DS and just their base versions. I feel like that's the most likely. I initially like wasn't sure because we were like 2 years out of Alpha Dream being dead, so we didn't know Brothership was on the way yet, so I didn't know what Nintendo was gonna do with this franchise, but they came back with Brothership. Hopefully they do something like this. This would be cool, and it'd also be funny because I kind of beat them to it. What else? Like I said, I did the animation. This was a process and a half. I'm glad I split them into different projects, but like, you know, we get so much stuff like this. This was what, like 20 layers, Jesus. But we get into some issues, and this is an issue I've had with Adobe for a while. If I can show you real quick here, for example, let's look at Mario. You can see I aligned him, so I had to make sure it's all pixel aligned. The issue is this with Adobe. You can see already there's a little gap there. Mario, even though it says 100, it says 100, but the background is potentially smaller and or bigger. But the issue is if I try to like move Mario and try to snap him to a pixel, that happens. He gets a little offset. And if I can use the arrow keys to redirect him, okay, we're on a lucky day where it works. Most cases, it just flings me off to the left, and most importantly, it changes his rotation point, so I can't use like tweens properly. So there's a lot of issues that are just so infrequent, so I'm kind of glad that like I only stuck to just these 3. I didn't go anymore because I would have probably lost my mind. These took, you know, a while to make. Superstar Saga took like 2 days though. Like once I got back into the rhythm after finishing this shot, these 10 were knocked out like easy. Partners in Time I say took about a week, and then Bowser's Inside Story took like 2 weeks. It was mostly just not only scavenging for sprites really. Yeah, I actually got like pretty desperate. I'm trying to find where's a good one. I think it was this one, yes. So despite Spriter's Resource not having Dimblewood, the Mario Wiki does. So I was able to pull this background from the Mario Wiki to do it, even for the Arm Center, except for the fact it doesn't animate. And if I like pull up the gameplay, I could show you directly that in Superstar Saga, I try to match it nearly perfectly, and I think I nailed it except for this last one. Then here, and then especially in Bowser's Inside Story, I started cutting corners. Like for example, let's look at where's this shot. Look at the water in the gameplay. Okay, that was a terrible shot. Terrible shot, this one. Look at the water. Look at it moving. This one doesn't. See, like I have to cut some corners. Hell, even these like little toothies. I mentioned that I was gonna mention how like DS pixelation works, so I just had to do my best to match it, even though it's not gonna be pixelated because it'd be in HD. Let's talk about bringing it to a widescreen. So yeah, obviously the DS and GBA. GBA is close to widescreen, but DS is very much not. So I had to do some fun stuff. Most notably with Superstar Saga, these backgrounds are cropped. They crop at the edges they're supposed to in the gameplay because they do not move left to right. I went in and manually drew these. I did this back in 2021, this background. But then I did let's see. I did this one. I had to like extend it. Let's see what else. This one. this is a real background from the game, and like there's no castle walls here. I did this myself based on like the previous area, so I used them as reference to draw up these ones. So that was a little fun thing. This is entirely new. That this was all me. So yeah, for the most part, Superstar Saga lines up really well with how the gameplay looks, especially with the gameplay side by side. I even like did the pixel art. I even like background details. Look at these little lights glowing. You know, knowing my luck, there's probably one here that I missed. And then, like I said, by Bowser's Inside Story, I got lazy. Here, even, like, look at this. This green shell doesn't even have a shadow. It does if you watch the gameplay. It doesn't have a shadow here. I just did not know. I feel like I was running out of time, I guess. I wanted to get this out soon, so... because I was going back to college, so... the sooner the better. I was talking about that weird snapping issue where it doesn't align right, and here's a good example of this. Look at the screen here. You can see it's like mostly to the left, but then all of a sudden it kind of recenters and it snaps like that. Like, the rotation point just moved. I can't like control that. That's just how it is. Hell, this is like really more zoomed in than I thought. Like, it even crops like this. I don't know what's up with that. The shot's just kind of funny. I like, because it was just a still shot of Bowser, so like, I mostly just like picked clips that like I felt like Nintendo would have also put in trailers, so like that one. Oh, crap! Another implementation of widescreen. So let's look at let's look at these two shots here. So in the gameplay brought to you by Sully Pawns, obviously you need both the top and bottom screen. I feel like what Nintendo would do is probably just. I keep saying that's what Nintendo would do, but I don't know. I feel like they would like just extend the background, just make it bigger, so you can see this is if I like cropped it so it was just a vertical line. That's the screen. That's the two DS screens like that, except it's missing this top part. But in full screen, it looks like this. I had to do all these troops manually. This was tough doing the troops manually. I remember that. And then for here, I did this thing where I'm like, all right, they'll just have like a dynamic split screen. You know, like that game Split Fiction, where it just like it just moves based on what needs priority, and even like this folds in, kind of like how they do down here. But oh, actually, you can see I cut a corner here. This conveyor belt just does not move with an egg on it, unlike the gameplay. You can see that. But I matched the transparency of these boxes though. That's one thing. This tile, like, look at that. I even got the tile. This little tile down here, it glows. Look at that. But yeah. That was for Partners in Time, and then for Bowser's Inside Story, I was like, they probably won't just do it top and bottom. They'll probably do sides, so I put Mario and Luigi here on the side. Because like, looking at this, all you need to frame really is mainly Starlo, because Starlo is the only one who talks during these moments. And then where's another DS screen here? Both screens were used like that in tandem. So for me, I just consolidated it to one screen. Did all these lights manually. There's a lot of like individual stuff. And then for here, you know, like you don't need this top, or I guess this was the bottom screen. You don't need that, so cut that. Same thing here. I feel like I remember what they did with the remake on the 3DS is that they had a tiny screen here of showing like what Bowser was doing. So you could, because all Bowser could do was just activate or close the water. So like that's all you needed. So priorities, because the rest would just be a map. So I figured. It's an animation. It's not real anyway, so it's just like it's okay if I don't include that. Plus, Black Beach wasn't ripped, so that would have been annoying to do. This was a dumb little shot I had. I needed to get Toad Town in. Ooh, here's a nice. This isn't about the dual screen, but it's pretty cool because we're in widescreen. There's a little extra detail Luigi being here because he is there off screen in the original. He's over there. It's just you know, since I know he's over there, I can do that. One thing about the backgrounds I kind of just realized is that, for example, here in Pumpworks, you'll notice the gameplay one is parallax and it has like more effects to it. Meanwhile, mine is obviously just a 2D picture with the foreground. Hell, even Mario just like doesn't get pixel squish. He just gets flattened because Adobe. Where's the dual screen one? Yeah, here we go. Giant battles. So this background I made completely off scratch. I think I did a pretty good job. It doesn't match, obviously. I even made made the lens flare. This was really cool, joining the screens to make a giant battle, because the battle arena was actually ripped, so that was perfect. So, I even matched Bowser's stupid little walk in place he does there, in case you haven't noticed, because the screen just... Hell, he walks backwards, technically, I think, yeah. Another dual screen moment. This one lines up perfectly with the gameplay pull. This was Chugga Conroy for Superstar Saga and Bowser's Inside Story. I could have sworn Zack Scott Games did one, but he didn't, so I guess couldn't use that. I don't know what this little blur line is, but look at that. It aligns perfectly. But as you can see, I kind of cut some corners. There's a little shock effect here. I didn't have that. Hell, look at this cannon. I drew that manually because it wasn't part of the background. I drew that manually. Look how garbage that looks. I don't even know what frame from this is pulling from. And the colors don't even match. I don't even know what I was doing with this. But like I said, this is like a what, 2-second clip. Hell, this one was even longer. Like the balloons don't even move. And I figured no one's gonna notice, so. But of course, me being me, I went out of my way to draw the L button. That doesn't exist. I drew that myself. Why don't the colors match is my question. You can see there's a bit more beige. This is more white. I don't know why the colors don't match, but because I literally just screenshot it and just used the colors to match. Maybe it's just this gameplay, because look at the green on here. This is the same. This is the actual rips. Nope. I drew that myself. Whoops. Man. I don't know what's up with that. I wanted a solo Luigi clip for each one, so that's how I ended each one. Wow. Words. Okay. Let's talk about the meta, since now we're in the video aspect. One thing, I said this was based on the 3D All-Stars trailer. When I first started working on this, I actually based it on the 3D All-Stars trailer from the 35th anniversary Direct. Like, I based it off the Direct, not the actual trailer they put on YouTube, because after this, the Direct guy goes into some details, so I'm like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if I had, like, a guy pretend to be a Nintendo guy, where he would, like, talk about the changes made, and Joy-Cons and all that. And I had ideas for how you do it for, like, Dream Team with the Joy-Cons, but then obviously I didn't go forward with that. But most importantly, I didn't go forward with that whole bit, because here's the reason why. I wanted the voice to be Danny B Plays. I did reach out to him. Unfortunately, he did not want to do it, so I figured, then I'm like, I don't want to do it, and I can't really imagine anyone else doing it, so I just canned it, and I just instead retimed it so it matched the actual trailer, so it ends with like the whole Nintendo logo and everything. It even ends with this. This was a cute little Photoshop project where, if you don't know, in the original trailer, the background was the star from 64, Shine from Sunshine, and Grand Star from Galaxy. So I swapped them for beans, mushrooms, and hot drumsticks. Don't ask what the mushrooms mean, but you could tell what the other two mean. And then this was like a little shitty box art. The icon, the logo was made by someone else. They also came up with the title Superstar Collection, but I came up with it first. So I took the logo and I made my own. This is literally just the Bowser's Inside Story art with Cackletta, the babies who have a different outline than the rest, and Cackletta's fucking blue, and Starlow's missing the line, so that was nice. I kind of blurred out the background bit a bit. I should have like left it a little less transparent. I can't go back because unfortunately I don't know where the file's gone. This should have set to 2025. I thought it'd be cool because it's just the 3 games. I even ended with Nintendo logo. I put the, oh yeah, I didn't even notice it was for Switch 2. So on that note, Switch 2. So I came up with this back when we were on Switch 1. And what I did was I recreated the little effect of it zooming out. But then for this, I have it zoom back in. Originally it spun. I'll get to that in a sec. But most importantly, when you cut between 2 different Nintendo Switch 2s, they're both the same color. There's no difference here. They're the same picture. They never made color variants. We're almost a year in now. No, we're not. We're only like, what, 3 months? 3 months, June? Yeah, 3 months in. So, no color variants yet, so I didn't do that. But as I was saying, in the original 3D All-Stars trailer, it spun back to cleanly cut to the next shot. Instead, I just had it zoom back in. I got a lot of feedback from the Mario and Luigi Partners in Time, like, remake project. I've been part of their project since I came up with this idea. I haven't done anything. They've moved servers so many times, but I've stuck around. But anyways, I was asking them for some feedback. They said having it spin would be better. The only issue is this is what we get if I do that. I think it's this one. Yeah, this. This is the only model of the Switch 2 I could find online that was public. And most importantly, the viewer they had on their website just automatically spun it, so I figured I could just do that. I speed ramp it so it matches the original 3D All-Stars trailer. The only issue is, first of all, I did a terrible job masking it. Look at this. Look, you can see the joystick sticking out. It's half blurred here because of the gameplay. And I have to corner pin the gameplay, which was hell of annoying. You can see I messed up. Most importantly, the model doesn't look right. So if you put that side by side with the actual one, it would look weird if like the first shot was this, and then the second two look like this. So it's just like, for consistency, I wanted them to look clean, so I figured I can't spin it around, so I'll just have it zoom back in. It'll look clean that way. There was a little like blurb here they usually have for the name of each game. I chose not to put it. I don't know why I chose not to. That was an active choice. There's some little like mess ups here. Like I mentioned, that green shell was missing a shadow earlier, but here, should have gone back to here. Right here, when Mario, you can actually kind of see into whatever was underneath, which I believe is just the base screen of the Switch 2. When the screen shakes here, the health bar is actually not supposed to move, and I think that's something I ended up not doing later here, where like the camera shakes but the health bar stays still. So, but like I said, this was 4 years ago. But then that brings up the point of how like when I first created this, I was like, you could see all I had to do was extend on the sides a bit. So my question was like, do I make up for the framing? You know, like if you swap a 4x3 for 16:9, do you keep the 4x3 framing or do you widen it? I eventually decided to just keep the framing, just make the screen wider. But you can see I did some stuff like the health bars, they don't line up, they're more to the left now, which that one feels better in my opinion. But then there's changes like this one where, let's get to it here. So these line up with this instead of against the left corner of the screen. Originally they did. I moved it because later I ended up not doing that. I ended up having it on the sides here, like I said. So that was a choice I went back on, where I was like, I'm just gonna keep the framing as is. And like I said, I made those frames literal like pixel art frames just so I can match the camera movement for the rest of these shots. This isn't really a mess up, it's more or less just my attempt. I think I did a pretty good job trying to recreate this. I did a bunch of blurring and glowing effects on the this little light thing. I'm just shocked I never showed the map once in Partners in Time. A lot of moments here are cutscenes because for me, animating the cutscenes is probably easier than gameplay. I don't have to be as precise. The UFOs move at different speeds. That's because what I'm basically doing is I'm comparing if it's from here to here, then I move it from here to here. But obviously in that case it's going to move faster. It's the same amount of time. I should have thought that through a bit better. I mentioned this whole Sully Pons thing. Yeah, this Sully Pons, yeah. Danny B, Sully Pons, Chugga Conroy. Yeah, like I said, I thought Zack Scott Games did gameplay, did not. Oh, here's this. Originally, this was the closing shot of the animation. And it's just the intercuts of the 3D All-Stars trailer. It didn't look that good. Like I was content with this, but then on the final night, I'm like, nah, that looks ugly as hell. So I'm gonna just do it where it's like all the 3 games, and it even has a little blur effect that they do in the 3D All-Stars trailer. I got lazy. This flower is supposed to be animated. You could tell it's got a little patch around it. Luigi doesn't match his other sprites, but that's a Partners in Time choice. Blame Alpha Dream, like 2006. I don't know when that game came out. Nothing else too crazy. I even have like the E for Everyone logo, which is just, it's just the 3D All-Stars trailer just cropped to it. That was a choice. Yeah. It was a little fun little project, fake trailer. I guess I gotta go back to Pikmin now, but like this was nice. I've kind of wanted to do something with Mario and Luigi for a while, and I'm actually surprised this is actually my first Mario and Luigi animation. I will at the end of this video, I'm gonna put the I actually have an intro back in 2021. I made an intro for this video before I decided it doesn't need an intro. That way I could bait more people just by spamming links everywhere on Twitter. So I'll put the intro, but most importantly, I'm gonna put a side by side where it's gonna be the gameplay, the 3D All-Stars trailer, and then my animation, so you can see the timing difference. But This was a hefty project. Glad it's done. And get back into what I'm supposed to be doing now. Alright, yeah, cue the 2021 intro.
Mario.
Let's go! 오키도키.